Okay, can everybody hear me? Okay. My topic is the demographic challenges to achieve the ICPD and the Sustainable Development Goals in developing countries. I almost have to laugh at a title like that because, of course, I can't do that in 7 minutes. What I will do, though, is try to speed through some of these slides. There we go. Okay, there is a slide, and it's a reason why that slide is up there is because in the annual report of 2018 of the PPD, there is the same slide with Hariono Siono presenting a statement to Nafis Siddiq, who is the executive director of the UNFPA. And Hariono Siono is representing President Suharto, who wrote a letter to 109 heads of governments in the developing countries, South-South Project, and 75 heads of governments signed a statement at the beginning of the ICPD. And the exciting thing about the PPD is that a number of developing countries have been remarkably successful in designing and implementing national population policies and programs. This represents a unique pool of practice, experience, which can greatly assist other developing countries. And for the last 25 years, I've witnessed the incredible brilliance of the staff, incredibly underfunded and overworked, but extremely competent and dedicated people who work for the PPD. This is my 12th meeting at a PPD conference, and I've had the privilege of being in this profession for 59 years. My first visit was in Egypt in 1960 when I was in Minya in a suit looking at I was a soil scientist at that time, looking at the impact of the Aswan Dam on feeding the Egyptian population. And I remember from 1956, when I was still in school, an article by the Population Reference Bureau stating that Egypt's population, which in 1956 was 23 million, was a population explosion. So when I hear the word dividend, I sort of double take, and it doesn't really make any difference whether you call a population explosion or a dividend. The population is what it is, it's what it's been, and it's what it's going to be. And the question is, how does everybody in this room work on the opportunities so that eventually there is a dividend in the population? But there's very few countries, particularly in the Sahel, where half the population is below 17 years of age, will be able to provide health and education for that half of the population, much less jobs for which there are Social Security networks. So my talk today is really about where it is. This is the statement. Now, there's two things. If you write on your card of a Population Reference Bureau wall chart, I will send it to you. If you want this statement, I will send it to you. If you want any of the reports that we've commissioned from 18 countries, I will send them to you. Because what we've done with the PPD countries, 16 PPD countries, is commission reports focused on population stabilization, which was published in this book that was presented in 1912 at the annual meeting of the PPD. The book is titled Population Trends and Policy Options in Select Development Countries. The reports in that book are Bangladesh, Ghana, Kenya, Mali, Nigeria, Senegal, Uganda, and Zimbabwe. While I've been here, I've been working with the coordinators and some of the authors of those reports to update them. So we will be updating these reports every 10 years, and the Gillespie Foundation has an endowment to update these reports. I'm also excited that there is an opportunity now to publish a report from Indonesia, and where we need to go is where these countries that have been successful can be replicated. We also work on aging issues, And we financed, the Gillespie Foundation financed the book, the PPD book, called Aging, Learning from Global South-South with country-specific reports from China, Ghana, Kenya, Mexico, Nigeria, South Africa, and Vietnam. That's the book. If you want it, we'll send it to you, or the PPD can send it to you. This is the life expectancy of the PPD countries. And what's remarkable, in just 7 years, there has been a dramatic increase in life expectancy in Ethiopia, Kenya, Mali, Senegal, South Africa, Uganda, and Zimbabwe. And so there's no doubt about the commitment that governments in sub-Saharan Africa and countries in the PPD have made to saving women and children's lives. However, the PPD in 1994, at the beginning, had 3.2 billion people. Today, it's 4.5 billion people. So you've added 1,274,000,000 people. That's adding 274 billion young people in countries where half the population's below 17, and all of them want an opportunity to survive through maternal and child health. All of them want education, but they also want jobs, salaried jobs, jobs that pay benefits. And so as you'll see in this slide here, I use the word rights-based population policies, excuse me, and family planning programs. And in striving to achieve the sustainable development countries, there is nothing more important than looking at the successful countries and having the successful countries replicated in other countries. Bangladesh, amazing country. I was in East Pakistan working for the Population Council in the 60s. And then I went back to Bangladesh working for the Ford Foundation in 1974 and 75. And it was one of the greatest and most exciting privileges I've had in my life, is to watch a country grow from a war-torn country to a country that has achieved a level of total fertility of 2.1 and remarkable changes in the health and education and opportunities of the population at virtually subsistent levels. Colombia, 2. Mexico, 2.2. South Africa, 2.4. Thailand, 1.5. Tunisia, 2.3. And that's one of the reasons why Tunisia's training programs are terribly important, because they've had this same transition from the days in which Bourguiba was very committed to this common mission. Vietnam, China, of course, and then India's an amazing, you have to work in each state. The country reports that we have for India are Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, and we are going to update both the Bihar and Uttar Pradesh reports. And 23 of the 36 states in India have total fertility rates less than 2.2. What's important to understand in these fertility rates, hold on, there we go. It doesn't want to move off that. It likes the optimistic news. The fact of the matter is that there is enormous number of young people moving into age profiles. So even if you reach a total fertility rate of 2.2, that doesn't mean the population stops. It means the population will grow again for 72 years, and in some of these countries it'll grow 73% above the existing population when it reaches 2.2. So there's this huge momentum built into young people in many of the countries, some of which we saw there. For some reason, it's not wanting to give me my next, oh, there it is. I'd like to introduce Dr. Osama Rafat. He has represented both the Gillespie Foundation, which is totally a fraudulent institution, and Population Communication, which has some validity. Population Communication I set up 40 years ago to work on highly leveraged. We manufacture MVA kits in Taiwan, and we do about 25 other things. But the fact is that Osama Rafat has pioneered in many projects. He's done surveys of contraceptive practices in Egypt. We also have surveys done in India, Nigeria, Bangladesh, and several other countries. And this is a survey of contraceptive practice, and it's important to understand that you need to look at the complete array. If anybody wants a textbook of the latest technologies of family planning contraceptive methods, it's published by a guy named Bob Hatcher. And all of these methods are recorded in there and brought up to date every 3 years. And a new publication has just come out. Just put book, and I will send you the book, because it is a textbook of all the methods. What's important to realize that we have from China amazingly lower prices of products than what were available in the United States. We have the Seno implant. We have now an injection, a Uniject device that women can give themselves for injecting contraceptives. It was the original. I manufacture the manual vacuum aspiration kits in Taiwan. Every MVA kit that has come to every country here comes out of the factory I set up in Taiwan. I'm a big believer in vasectomy. I haven't got my vasectomy in Bombay. I believe that if anybody really wants to go to the prime place to get your vasectomy, that's where to go. There's also no vasectomy, no scalpel vasectomy, a number of surgical contraceptive methods for women. There's the emergency pill, mifepristone, misoprostol, 2 pills, 48 to 72 hours after sex is a means by which you can stop an unwanted pregnancy. If you can't stop it immediately after, within 2 days, you can go to the pill. You can take 4 pills up to 10 weeks after sex. But the most effective means of preventing an unwanted pregnancy is a copper T IUD immediately post pregnancy test. The PPD has strengthened a rights-based approach to population policies and reproductive health, and I have a long list of things that they've done, but I don't want to run out of my 7 minutes. I will close by one paragraph about what's happening in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, before the Nairobi ICPD meeting, heads of government will convene a 74th session of the General Assembly for the first time in person at the United Nations in New York to review the progress and promises made 4 years of working on the Agenda 2030, the SDGs. Prior to that meeting, the Sustainable Development Solutions Network published the Sustainable Development Report. It's 500 pages long, including each index for the Sustainable Development criteria and a dashboard to understand what is happening or not happening in 4 years. So we have until 2030, we have 11 more years. The FP 2020 has 1 more year till July 11th. These are time frames that are very challenging for those people who set those goals. The question is, can they be met? But if they can't be met, how do we regroup and then formulate the policies that can be met? Thank you very much for your attention.